Good afternoon and good morning. This is Mark Johnson, welcoming you to another edition of Loyalty360's Award Winners in Loyalty. Today we're here with Lonnie Mayne, CEO and founder of Red Shoes Living. Good morning, Lonnie. How are you?
Good morning. I'm doing fantastic.
During our 2018 Loyalty Expo, Lonnie and Red Shoes Living were recognized with two Loyalty360 Top 10 awards, one for a Top 10 agency and one for a Top 10 marketing team. Lonnie, could you give a brief introduction of Red Shoes Living and your role with that company?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. So I'm the CEO and founder of Red Shoes Living, and the concept has been developed over the last 28 years, really, corporate America as well as running a technology company. And we use Red Shoes Living as a way of reminding us to stand out in everything that we did, from how we worked to how we lived our lives, to how we built our product, to how we serviced our customers. It was always one level above, and we created a framework to not only hire Red Shoes Living type leaders and individuals to bring into the company, but put that at the center of our organization and help us to stand out, for the positive in behalf of our customers. Creating loyalty really was the main premise. And so now Red Shoes Living has become this entity that goes into other organizations, some of the best brands in the world, and threads that philosophy into the organization and inspires the team, inspires the culture. And the outcome of all of that is to focus on creating experiences that stand out just like a pair of red shoes, which is where the name came from.
If you could pick one thing for brands to improve upon to ensure success, what would that be?
I think the one thing is tough, but there's a couple of things, if I may, that come to mind. The first one is just, focusing in on the culture of an organization. There's so much noise that happens in a business today with all the KPIs and everything that you need to run an organization that sometimes culturally we forget about not only the employees, the internal customer, but the external customer as well. So I think, focusing relentlessly on culture. Best in class companies today like Nike and Starbucks and other big name brands, Virgin, they really do this. They focus on their teams and their culture, and they relentlessly do that on a daily basis. And so that's the number one thing. And then I think that the second thing, and we're seeing these emerging trends about personalization. You really have to personalize the employee experience, if you will, internally, getting to know your employees at a little deeper level, as well as personalizing the customer experience. So I would wrap all of that together and say that is the one thing, if you will, that companies need to continue to focus on.
How important is culture to building a solid brand foundation? Is this something that needs to be built on the ground floor of a company, or can it be added and adjusted down the line?
So this is a good question, and it's something that comes up quite a bit. At Red Shoes Living, what we do is we actually work only with the leadership and executive team. So it's our belief that it does start there. That being said, culture does come from the ground up as well. And I think that's why it's so important to pay attention to it, because, we've got so much diversity in organizations today, as we should. That's what I believe a diverse organization and bringing that type of experience to the table is what makes good companies great. But culture is the most important thing that you can do, and you have to work on it on a daily basis. So I think working with the leadership team, getting them to lead and positively inspire the organization to go further and focus on the objectives is important. But then you need the influencers inside of the organization at a little deeper level, if you will, to also rise from the bottom, if you will, all the way up into the organization. And the outcome of all of that is just creating loyal customers and great customer experience. So you will always hear me talk about how important culture is, and the best in class companies that I'm working with today are working on their culture top down, bottom up every single day.
How can brands approach the challenge of alignment? In other words, how can the company align the entire organization to move forward on the same goals, from the C-suite to the front line, also with regard to the product or services that they can truly excel upon?
Yeah, I think this is critically important. I'll kind of go back to the first question that we talked about, and the noise of business, if you will. With everything that it takes to run an organization, people get lost with this loud noise of KPIs and metrics and growing the business and taking cost out, and it can become too much and people get lost in that. So what we're seeing today is people that are creating the business KPIs and goals and objectives, but they're diving in a little deeper, and they're creating an inspirational objective that kind of wraps itself around that, if you will, and they're keeping it simple. People want to know what it is that they're trying to achieve beyond just the KPIs, and so knowing the organization's why is critically important. And I literally believe in almost every meeting that you go into, you have to kind of point to that goal or that objective of the organization. And it can't just be, let's just grow. Let's continue to grow ourselves, because that becomes uninspiring to many people within the organization. So, to be more direct on that, it's got to be simple, it's got to be inspiring, it's got to be meaningful, and it's got to be, something that everybody can point back to, if you will.
The last question we have for you, Lonnie, what does winning a Loyalty 360 Top 10 Award mean to your organization, and what do you think earned you that victory?
Well, first and foremost, we were incredibly honored to receive that, and then, while we were there and realizing all the other brands and great leaders that were receiving awards, along with Red Shoes Living, just made us feel incredibly grateful and honored. I mean, some of the biggest brands and some of the greatest leaders we were standing next to, and so to be part of that group was humbling for us. And the business of Red Shoes, I would give credit back to the team, and constantly improving and continuously improving, and it is for us all about standing out in everything we do. And when I say that, it's all the way down to just returning emails and answering phone calls for clients, and standing out for the positive and surprising them, if you will, on a daily basis. And I was doing an interview yesterday where somebody said, Lonnie, Red Shoes is really about taking the ordinary and becoming extraordinary. And I said, that's exactly right. So I think, to give credit to the team, that's what helped us receive and win these awards, is that we stood out, and hopefully we stood out for the positive, and we continue to do that.